Hey, y'all, guess what time it is? It's the Grolic Saves the World time.
All right, the Grolic saves the world.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're getting fixed, our worries are nixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world. We're getting fixed, our worries are nixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world. We're getting fixed, our worries are nixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world.
Take off your outdoor shoes, put on your slippers, take off your day pants, put on your pajamas. Your day's over. It's the Grolic Saves the World. It's not going to get better from here. Your day's not going to get better from here. So just relax in your house with us. I'm Adam Caton Holland.
My name is Ben Roy.
And I'm Andrew Orvidal.
And we're giving you permission to quit on the day.
What are day pants, dude?
You guys don't put on your comfy cozer pants when you're like, I'm in for the night.
Cozer pants.
Sure. I got a pair of
I don't like
sweatpant Euro joggery pants, and they're so comfortable. And I take off my outdoor pants, I put on my indoor pants, and I urge you all to do it.
Outdoor pants, indoor pants, day pants, night pants. Boy, the labeling system in Adam's closet is just real serial killer shit.
A comfy pair of cozers, he says. This is the podcast, of course, where we better the world around us by bettering ourselves, hopefully, by putting on a pair of cozers and
just
day pants.
Somersault into some cozers and pour yourself some cocoa.
And we have a challenge barreling down the pipe. Do not
It's a fun
worry.
one. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Great challenge this episode. And I guess I'm going to show the listener a little bit how the sausage is made. And normally we set up a challenge, then take a week to do it. But we've been working on this challenge for months. We sort of issued ourselves a mandate. Hey, go work on this on your own. And when it sort of comes to fruition, we'll do an episode about it.
Yeah,
this one we just knew was going to require some research. But I want to call this, before you mention what the challenge is, I'm going to say that the drawbridge, there's going to be no earnestness horn on this one. I have a feeling this is going to be Riff City's drawbridge is down. Mm-hmm. And we are free to riff away on this one.
I mean, that's the default mode of Riff City.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of earnestness on this one. But go ahead, Adam.
Okay, well,
you'll be the one to abuse it, so we'll find out.
Earnestness horn? No, just kidding. Guess I'll just let the listener know. We've been researching our independent lineages, like where our families come from when they got to the United States. And we tried to pinpoint when exactly that was. Find when your family came to the U.S., an immigration story.
Not to mention why that was. We not only wanted to know when, but why did they come here?
Exactly.
And I guess we're trying to figure out a way to make it an episode. And I recently did a comedy show in Rhino, which is an area called River North of Denver. It is the kind of insufferably hip, formerly warehouse district, now just breweries and pot shops and cool graphic design firms. It's New Denver, N umlaut U, and I fucking hate it. It's everything that's wrong with this city. And I literally said there was a huge window of this brewery, and I got on stage and I was like, guys, if you see a scooter, an e-scooter going by, just yell out. And I was like, that'll be funny for a laugh or two. I couldn't get through my fucking set because people...
Yeah, what were you thinking? What? That's the only way people convey down there.
You did it during migration season. You know that's when bird scooters head south.
Yeah. The Brady's and Brents got to get south by spring.
It turned into exactly that. I turned my back to the audience. I put my elbows up on the windowsill, and I was like, look at this pair of Logans surfing down Brighton Boulevard. And it just turned into that. But it was like everything I fucking hate about Denver. And I recently read a study that the population of Denver is going to double by the year 2050. Double.
Oh, my God.
And all I can do is just like, I want to move. I want them to get the fuck out. I'm like, not in my city. And I realize I am the NIMBY Republican touting immigration fears for my city of Denver. Like, I hate that on the national political scale, but when it comes to my town, I'm like, get out.
I've been right with you there, Adam. Just very mean about all of the transplants to Colorado. But I don't know if you guys knew this. This is actually kind of tragic. I recently found out those people were actually exiled from their home states for being the most dogshit drivers. I didn't know that. Instead of taking away their licenses, they were like, you can't live in our state anymore. You have to go find a new state to live. And with Colorado's permissive laws, they are just flocking here in droves. So it's actually kind of tragic once you know that they're a bunch of dildo-brained dumb fucks who don't know how to drive.
Dildo-brained dumb fucks.
Oh, so it's a shitbag refugee. We're welcoming shitbag refugees.
I want you all to know you're talking to one. I didn't grow up here. I moved here in 1999, so 23 years ago.
That was so long ago, though, Ben. I think that you skated in. You wandered into Denver before pot was legal, before there was this employment boom. Denver was just Denver in 1999.
Ben actually just got sucked up in the dust of Lollapalooza, and it carried him all the way across the country from Maine to Denver.
Like a tumbleweed.
I was out, bros. I was following the Warped Tour. You know what I was doing.
Oh, yeah. And the bus left without you, dude.
I moved here because my dad had worked here. He was high up at a company called Frontier Vision, which was a cable company that was based out of Colorado. And my dad would always say, you should move to Colorado. You'd love Denver. And he would tell me that when I was growing up. And so it's kind of...
When you're 7?
Like, seriously, when I was in middle school, my dad would come out here and then...
You sure it was work? He might have a secret lady out here.
Well, if my dad wasn't asexual... See, my dad is smooth. My dad's smooth down in the parts.
Sure.
It's just it looks like the outside rim of a highlight scoop. It is... it's smooth down there. Yeah,
your dad's
what a reference! I mean, you can tell Ben's been spending a lot of time in Tampa Bay,
but has not worked up the nerve to pick up the highlight scoops. Just looking at it on the ground, just looking at the bag.
And that's what my dad's Jennies look like. No, my dad came out here quite a bit, and then when I came here, I remember in 1999 or 98 for the first time, I was like, "This is where I'm going to live." I actually moved to Boulder, of all places, but then I quickly discovered Boulder sucked, and I moved to Denver, and I just can't leave this place. I understand the appeal of the people who are coming here.
Well, that I do too, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this episode, because I think Andrew and I, having grown up here and remembering it as a shitty, dusty cow town, that I felt like I got to get out of this cow town, or it's it's just like a dead end. And then it got cooler and cooler and cooler. I think we were like delighted that our town became cool, and then it jumped the shark and everybody fucking moved here, and now we're just like, too cool, pump the fucking brakes. But it's too late. It's the dog is off the leash.
We also wanted to do this challenge as a way of combating the jingoistic anti-immigrant attitudes here in the U.S.
Yeah, which seems to be kind of a worldwide, maybe not worldwide, but it's clearly a big problem in Europe, and it's obviously a problem here.
Yeah, the rise of populism is huge on a global scale, and it's working with these dictator-like leaders. And I think it's interesting because all of us are so anti-jingoism on a national scale, but when it comes to Denver, we're just like, it's okay. So I think what we need to realize is that we need empathy for people who are moving to a new place,
and there's going to be more of it.
Yeah, there's only more of it. My parents moved here in the 70s, so I'm just like, oh, cool. Well, I'm a native. Like, that's so bullshit. Everyone comes from somewhere else, and I think that's why it's interesting that we've done this challenge and done the research to see where our families came from, who probably endured racism and discrimination and all that shit, as everyone who immigrated to the U.S. did.
Here's what I think we had agreed to do, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, have you not heard the pod before, dude?
Okay.
We're ready.
But we go back. We're going to look back through our ancestry, through our genealogy, and try to go back and pinpoint as best we can. This is obviously pretty difficult at points. When and where our ancestors came here, and why? What were they doing? Why did they come to the U.S.? And report back with that, and let's see if there's anything surprising. What kind of weird shit is in our past?
And I think the goal is for me and Andrew to have more empathy for these new Denver transplants.
I like
appreciate that Even 22-year-old boys named Trevor have a tale to tell.
Hey, and they follow our podcast. The Trevor's in the title.
God, I hate this already.
But I am curious to know about your dude's lineage and share some of mine as well. So this will be an interesting
dude's
challenge.
Lineage, a guide to your family tree. Okay.
Well, without further ado, as a little hint to what mine will be. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break?
Oh, Ben. But before we do that, I have got to tell you what people are saying about our podcast.
Oh, I love this. I love when you do this, Adam. I love this. I love this so goddamn much. Okay.
You know we love it when you rate and review our pod. It helps us in the algorithms. It helps us in the matrix. And as a way of encouraging you to please do that, we'd like to share some of them right here on the pod. This review, 5 stars, natch, is by somebody named Jason W666. Hail Satan, Jason. Thanks for reviewing. His review says, I love this podcast. And he writes, I want to take it to a motel on a rotary with a 6-pack of IPA and a Dave Matthews playlist and play Dungeons and Dragons for 12 hours. That's how much I love this podcast.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. What's a motel on a rotary?
Ben referenced one time.
That was where I tried to scoop a shorty up. I used to take the ladies there.
Point being, Jason pays attention.
I clearly don't.
Jason pays attention more than Andrew even.
And the best part is that reference is from a live episode. He's referencing a live taping with Shane Torres. That was
you all
so
know
fun.
I've never been to a live taping. We use my double for that, so that explains it.
Jason, thanks for listening to all the episodes and digging deep into them, and we really appreciate your review. And if you feel like reviewing us, please go ahead. It helps us tremendously, and maybe we'll even read it on air. What a boon that'd be for you.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we close that little picnic basket of fun?
Get out of here, Yogi Bear. The picnic basket's closed.
Hey, boo boo. And then why don't we?
I want to get off this show. I got to get off this podcast.
Bye, Andrew.
See you guys.
From our live show, we have some stand-up comedy. Our live show, it's the last Saturday of every month at the world-famous Bug Theater. We had people from out of town come and see it. If you get a chance, come make the pilgrimage. See us. It's a ha-ha-hodge. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, come and see us. This comic, she is so funny. She's been crushing it around Denver. We have no doubt you're going to know her name nationwide very soon, a personal favorite of all of ours. Everybody, please enjoy Miriam Moreno. And when we come back, we will have properly dug into our past, and we will be more connected with who we were and who we are. So stay tuned.
Can you guys see my period? I've been holding it in for a couple hours. This guy on the internet said that's how it works. Just like urine. I'll get this out of the way. I know you guys are wondering. I never experienced domestic abuse. It was always imported. Because I myself am an import. Growing up, I used to get called whitewashed a lot. Kids would be really mean. You know, it's not my fault. I don't have an accent. I was exposed to Chumbawamba at an early age, so I feel like that had a lot to do with it. And not to sound like a Mexican hipster, but my dad was murdered by a cartel before it was cool, so yeah, you guys can laugh at that. My dad laughs at that all the time. From his grave where he's super dead, so super dead. Growing up, I always thought I'd be a single mom because my mom was a single mom. You know, my dad was murdered. My other grandpa was murdered. My other grandpa had skin cancer, but then he shot himself, so I guess he beat skin cancer. It's Mexican healthcare for ya. A lot of DIY.
Get out of the trenches of tedious tasks like managing order fulfillment and start growing your business with ShipStation. They'll help increase profitability by automating your workflow with their simple, easy-to-use dashboard. With it, you can pretty much do everything you need to quickly and easily. Update order information, print labels, compare rates, optimize shipments, and even set up automatic delivery notifications. And it doesn't matter where you sell. Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, ShipStation can integrate pretty much anywhere online. Another great thing about ShipStation? They can help reduce costs with industry-leading discounted rates from some of the biggest mail carriers. You might even be able to get up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. So, make this year your most profitable one yet. Sign up for your free 30-day trial at ShipStation.com and use the code Spotify. That's ShipStation.com with the code Spotify.
We are back through the magic of podcasting. It's mere moments later. We've got our immigrant stories researched. We know when our ancestors came to the U.S., and I think there's going to be a lot here. And I think it makes sense to go with who's the least removed from that. And Andrew, being 104,
yes,
was on the boat.
Yeah.
And so we're getting a first-person look through his eyes.
Exactly. This is, in essence, his biography.
I volunteered to go first, and I regret it.
And I think people are just clamoring for the Scandinavian diaspora story that is Andrew Orbadal. So,
how did you get here? What was it like to come here in a wooden clog?
Good one, dude.
You curled
all right,
up
let me
in
go.
the front of a wooden clog. Okay. All right, Andrew, what'd you figure out?
So, before we get into this, I did want to take a quick minute and acknowledge something. As three white people looking into our family trees is just kind of like, hoo-hoo, hey, this is interesting. What?
Yeah.
I never knew that. And for a lot of Americans, that could not be the case. They might not be able to even find their family history. They might find it incredibly infuriating, incredibly upsetting,
right.
Incredibly sad. So I did want to acknowledge that this experience could definitely be different for different people before we get into ours. But
okay, cool.
I was a little dismayed. A lot of my family tree turned out to be dead ends. Just that people were like, "Oh, we don't know. We don't know where those people came."
Yeah, that's what Milo Roy says.
Right.
Fuck off.
Ron, just a lot of cul-de-sacs in the old family tree. Producer Ron, though, totally hooked us up with a fascinating and a bit morbid tool called findagrave.net. You can pop in a relative's name, find out information about them, start tracing it back. So I used findagrave.net, and I found information about relatives I didn't know about. I found out about some of my relatives having relatives that they didn't tell me about ever, like half siblings and shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's great. That was crazy. But on my mom's side, I managed to trace back my mom's mom.
Your mom's mom.
That's how you say it.
That is an area of pornography I have explored.
The MILF.
The quadruple MILF.
Yeah, you like that sepia tone, tintype style.
It's a real MILF.
Unnatural fast motion moving picture. Hell yeah.
It's like a silent film. Is that Buster Keaton in the background?
And then when the sex happens, it's just a train going into a tunnel. She moved to the U.S. from Scotland. She immigrated from Scotland.
Wow.
She was of the Scottish clan Ogilvy to the degree that her last name was Ogilvy. And so I also got some history on my Scottish clan, which I was vaguely aware of anyway, but I didn't know all the particulars of it. They're sort of like a lesser known Scottish clan, but I like my Scottish clan's war cry is "to the end," which is such a mediocre war cry. It's just like, let's wrap this up. Like, I don't know if we're gonna win, but can we just get to the end? Can we be done with this already?
I think it's more triumphant. I think they're fighting the whole way.
Yeah, they take it to the end. But it also, when you put you in the context of it, it's very much like, can we get to the end of this?
I kind of like to the middle, and then we'll see.
Yeah. Let's reevaluate in the middle of this battle if we can.
Pragmatic. Maybe they're kicking our ass and we retreat.
So yeah, she immigrated and ended up in Wyoming, and that bums me the fuck out. To go from the green hills of Scotland to Wyoming must have been just an absolute emotional dumpster.
I am curious, Andrew, about that. Why to Wyoming? Like, why? What
unfortunately, I don't know. That was one where they didn't know why she came here. So
just Wyoming.
Whatever the reason, she was disappointed.
judging by the time frame, just reading history a lot and Western history, there's a very good chance that they got a sizable plot of land because the U.S. was encouraging people to homestead the West, and they were giving out.
Which is a good segue to my dad's side of things, where no, I'm serious. My dad's a dad. They're from Norway. And no one is sure when they came over. It was the early 1800s. But yeah, they were offered homesteading in the Dakotas. So they ended up in the Dakotas from Norway. Again, just what an absolute kick in the dick going from Norway to the Dakotas.
I mean, the Dakotas are pretty.
Compared to Norway, not really. But...
But I'm sure it's not that simple. It wasn't like, we prefer the Dakotas to Norway. I'm sure it was extreme poverty and opportunity.
Yes. And then the ancestor I know the most about immigrating is my grandma, Julia, who immigrated here from Italy.
Oh, Orvidal, I had no idea. Scottish, Italian, and Norwegian?
Ron, if you could give us a little of the old country...
Ooh, that's
She's
nice.
from a little fishing village, Bari, in Italy. Ooh. And apparently her mother, no one knows, it's one of these two things. She was either married to an abusive man or her husband died. Somehow that it never got crystallized which of those two. But in either case, she moved to New York City and she left her daughters behind in Italy until she could get settled. So I have no one knows like who the daughters were left with or what, like did the village take care of them? I have no idea. But eventually the mom in New York got a job in an apartment and she sent for her daughters and they came over on a boat and they entertained the wealthy passengers by singing. They were great little singers, so they were invited up into the...
Oh, just like you. So the apple doesn't burp.
Yeah, on that cruise, they invited me up to the first class cabins to sing.
But even just, Adam and I will be in our coasters, and old Andrew stands in front of us and sings
just a regular nightingale.
I'm just picturing the commercial movie of Andrew's life in this origin story, and those young Italian girls are singing on the boat, and they kind of close their eyes and think about the future and the opportunity that America provides. It's just a dream sequence of Andrew doing stand-up comedy on a cruise for metalheads. Yeah. And this is why it's like the same across generation.
It's all worth it. It's all gonna be worth it down the road. So yeah, they came over on the boat and then they joined their mom in New York and they lived in this apartment in New York and they'd never seen a toilet before or like plumbing. So they would spend all day long flushing every object that would fit down the toilet in their mom's apartment. That's all they would do all day. They were fascinated by that toilet.
That's just like when I was in jail.
Yeah,
so similar.
Yeah. It's a hell of a way to lose a wedding ring, and I know you regret it, but... So that's how my grandma came over to join her mom, who was fleeing either an abusive husband or was just leaving a dead husband. No one knows. But yeah, she ended up becoming an actress and a singer, a play actress.
That's cool.
And
yeah, that's really cool.
So that's about all I could really.
I mean, that's
really dig
pretty
up.
great. I mean, you found quite a bit. That's really cool.
You know what the bummer is with having an Italian grandma? It's like pretty hard for me to get citizenship. But if I had an Italian grandpa, I would just be, no pun intended, grandfathered in. I could have Italian citizenship.
Really?
There's some weird sexist double standard where it's like, an Italian grandpa, that's not easy to come by. But these Italian women, they were just spawning like salmon. Jesus Christ. Like, what the fuck? It should be the same.
Can't believe Italians are sexist. I cannot believe there's a history of sexism
It's so
in Italy.
shocking.
It's just stunning.
Well,
to
that
me.
was super interesting. The Orfadals, and then what was the clan name again? The Ogilvy?
Ogilvies.
Yeah, that sounds like
Ogilvies,
a drink.
Orvidals, you name it.
Yeah, all the O's. Well, that's
Weird
great,
how similar
dude.
those are, and they're on the separate sides of the family.
Good
Well,
work.
I think I'll go next if that's right. I feel like Ben's got some real skeletons we might be saving for later.
Oh, come on. Yeah, sure, probably. What's up?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's interesting with family because you've heard these sort of legends, but you just sort of accept them as fact. You don't research them yourself. So I know about like my dad's dad's side, and I know about my mom's dad's side and my mom's side, but I never knew about my father's mother's side, like my grandmother's side. And there's this book that would sit on my dad's like shelf growing up, and he'd say it was by my grandfather. He's like, my grandfather wrote that book. And I just was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know that grandfather. I didn't know his mom. She died before I was born. So I just like, I didn't really care. It wasn't real to me. And then I think I picked it up once and I tried to read it and it was very dry. And I was like, okay, whatever. Someone in my family wrote that book. For this challenge, I picked it back up again. And it's called The Pack Peddler. I'm looking at it right now. It's like this hardback book. It's called The Pack Peddler by W. Lee Provell, William Provell, who's my great-grandfather. And so, like, it's this fucking crazy story about his life as a pack peddler, which is, like, the coolest term. But it's basically, like, just salesmen, just guys who put shit on their back, on their pack, and went around and peddled it in rural areas. And these would be like shit that they needed, like matches and buttons and swaths of fabric and just a general store that was mobile. Okay. And this dude wrote a story about that life. And like they immigrated to the U.S. when he was 8 from Poland. And I had no fucking idea I was Polish. No one ever said that to us ever. Like, if you asked me my ancestry, I knew one side's Ukrainian, the other side's Irish. That's all I fucking knew. But here's this guy being like, I was born in this really shithole little town in Poland. And then they moved to the U.S. His father moved to the U.S. for opportunity. His father was a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi. And he moved here, just similar to Orvidal. They left this guy who wrote the book behind for a few years, got some money, brought them over. And they moved to New York City, cue Gangs of New York City tenement music.
Yeah, let's fire that up. Oh, that is nice.
That's
that
exactly
is nice.
What we're talking about. I'm a poor immigrant finding my way. And then they moved to upstate New York. And so his dad was a rabbi. They were dirt poor. And so William Provell, from like an age of 6 on, would just strap on his pack and off he'd go for hundreds of miles away, selling for weeks on end, just like trying to earn a buck. And then he'd come home and give that money to the family. I read this whole book, and it's like some Forrest Gump, big fish shit. Like, you would not believe the stories that he just casually tosses aside. Like, there's one story that there was a Indian reservation, a Native American reservation in upstate New York. And they had it was rumored that they'd found like a giant buried. It's so turn of the century. Like, a giant was found buried there, and he wanted to go see it. So he goes to sell to that area. A blizzard hits. He gets like knocked off his little sleds, freezing to death. And a native boy like rescues him, and he's feverish, and they just nurse him back to health for a week. And then he just reemerges back at home. They thought he was dead. They're like, "Oh, you're alive. Great. Go back out and sell some more." And it's just story after story after story like this. It's the craziest shit. Like, at one point they moved to Brooklyn, and he sells newspapers on the corner, like a straight up newsie. And this kid gets into it, and he's like, "This is my territory." And there's like, they fist fight, and all the newsies are like cheering him on.
Oh my God.
It's just every chapter has story after story after this, like of William Provell. So it was fascinating, the pack peddler.
You got to adapt that into a screenplay. This sounds great.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is my dad has always had this tendency to just like embellish. And he's always got these crazy stories. And we're like, that didn't fucking happen. Like, my dad swears that he picked up Eric Clapton hitchhiking on acid. We're like, that didn't fucking happen. You're just... You're caught up in a 60s thing. You're
Do you know how many dudes
like Eric Clapton in the 70s?
Do you know how many dudes looked like Eric Clapton in the 70s?
Exactly.
Dad? Come on.
Or my dad was at like a draft resistance thing at UCLA and like hung out with Muhammad Ali. You're like, it didn't fuck it. It's Forrest Gump. You're Forrest Gumping your life. Then you read this book and you're like, I think maybe all your ancestors just had crazy fucking stories like this. So
is
yeah,
wild.
It's such
What's his name again?
treasure. William Provell. And
So-
I looked it up. Sorry, I'm just talking and talking. Go ahead, Ben.
No.
That's what a
this is great.
podcast is.
I looked it up, and like this book is pretty well known in sort of like academic Jewish circles. Like certain schools
really?
have used it as like emblematic of the Jewish American immigration story. Just like
So this is your dad's grandfather?
my dad's grandfather, William.
Your
Provell.
great-grandfather.
My great grandfather.
Wow.
So like 1880s, he immigrates from Poland to the U.S.
And he
You know-
then obviously gives birth to your dad's mom.
Yeah, Estelle
Okay.
Estelle Provell, who became Estelle Holland, and then had my dad.
Gotcha.
And she died before my dad was born. So it's kind of fascinating. Like, if you're dead, and probably you're the woman in a sort of sexist period, your story is just not really told at all. So I just knew nothing about this side of the family, to the fact that I didn't even know I was Polish. And so that's just crazy to learn that.
Yeah.
To me.
And that's the real tragedy here. I think Ben would agree, is just now finding out you're Polish when we missed out on making Polak
Right.
jokes back when
Right.
it was
Thank you.
fashionable. And
Thank you.
now we can't. Now we
Do you
can't.
know that growing up, the only joke books I had on my shelves was dirty Polak jokes? And I mean, I could have, for instance, what do Polish women and hockey
No.
players have in common?
No.
Okay. I won't, I'm sorry. I won't. But I do know quite a few of them if you want to know the answer.
I'll never get tired of white on white racism. It will always be funny to me. Calling Irish people potato heads.
As a
I love
straight
it.
white man, for me to have another just tread upon something to cling at is huge for me. So I can claim Judaism, I can claim Polish racism. I'm really shining right now, guys.
I mean, that's fascinating, and I'd like to read that book, actually.
It's very fascinating, and it becomes like he gets really wealthy, and it becomes it's interesting because he's just like, this is the opportunity that America provided. But the dedication is beautiful. I got to read you the dedication. It's a sentence long, and then I won't go more. Dedicated to the memory of the vast army of courageous pack peddlers by the son of one of them. Like, that's great.
That's cool.
It's so
Yeah.
I didn't know that pack peddlers was a thing, but
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. But yeah, you wouldn't think what a crazy endeavor, just wandering around with a huge ass pack full of
I mean,
odds
you
and
think
ends.
about when you think about what a person from El Salvador or a person from Honduras or whoever who comes to the U.S. and pushes around an ice cream cart when they get here, or makes a lotte on the street in Los Angeles. This becomes their pack peddling. This becomes their story later on when they write their memoir and their kids are successful. American citizens generations down. They go, my great great grandfather used to make flavored corn on the side of the
Right.
road in Los Angeles, and has these crazy stories. That's to me the connection, that this is a process we've been repeating over and over again.
for
And
sure.
a lot of people don't know this, but the first pack peddler to settle down was Henry Bodega. I don't know if you guys know that.
Andrew, why don't you take a minute for a second?
You're welcome.
You wanna gather yourself, Andrew, to come back stronger after that, or
Why don't you go?
No,
maybe
I'm
go.
good.
Why don't you,
you
go
guys
sit
are
in the
good to
car?
go with the podcast still? You don't need a minute?
I'm here.
That was
I'm here.
so dumb. He was so proud of himself the way he walked into that.
You know, actually, Jasper 7-Eleven was one of the first to set up shop.
Johann Hobby Lobby was one of the. You're such an asshole, Andrew. It was. I wish you could see the video of how proud he was.
He posed in pride. He took a minute. He took a still shot.
I meant to say it earlier and I forgot it and I remembered and I was proud that I remembered it. I was like,
So
oh yeah, I'll make that
fucking
joke.
dumb.
So anyway, that's my really
That's a good one.
fascinating discovery.
I like it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Ben,
Ben, what do you got?
So I've known a lot about my family history and heritage. I grew up. I think I've talked about this before on here. That I French. I
At
grew up.
length, ad nauseum.
Yeah, my parents didn't speak English when they started school. That was their second language. They spoke French almost primarily or entirely.
Your parents' second language was English? Both of them?
My parents didn't speak English when they started school.
No shit.
They spoke French. Franco-Americans or French Canadians coming to the U.S. is an immigrant story. I mean, it is. 900,000 Franco-Americans came into the U.S. between like 1860 and 1930 to work in the mills because the U.S. was now in the Gilded Age and was like factories were exploding everywhere. They started coming here on the Grand Trunk Railway, which I think is hilarious. The band Grand Funk Railroad was a play on Grand Trunk Railway.
Yes.
And it was a train service that ran between Montreal to parts of Vermont and Maine. And so looking back, I've known this history. Especially my dad's side, they're very proud of their Franco heritage because it was like being Irish in the Northeast. In fact, we were so hated, the French Canadians, when they came. They were called the N-words of the Northeast. That's what they called French Canadian people, or Franco-Americans. So there was this feeling in my family there's a very insular community of French Canadians in Maine. And I traced it back. My aunt helped me trace some of these back to when they came to North America, to the Maritime region, to Northeast Canada, around Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and around Quebec City. And there's some interesting cats. They were the last name was Parent. And there's a few of them. My aunt was telling me about one of them who came here. They did own slaves, which was uncommon for Canadians. They actually enslaved
our first slave
French
owner of the episode.
They actually enslaved fellow French Canadians.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and one of them, I'm told, supplemented his income by shooting dolphins. That was his on the St. Lawrence waterway. He shot dolphins for money.
Jesus fucking.
Wait. To get the dolphin meat, or these dolphins were hounding the
Or is this just like a show that he put on? Like,
no, I don't.
Was he like
$50 says I can hit that one.
like a busker? I mean, from what you just described, it sounds like the entertainment of the time period.
That was common on the St. Lawrence waterway to hunt beluga whale to hunt porpoises. And he shot, he shot dolphins.
Slave owner of his fellow ethnicity who shoots dolphins.
Dolphin shooting slave owners.
That's a pretty low on the rung of terrible things.
I'm not trying to shit on your family, but if we were sitting around a writer's room, be like, let's make this guy fucking awful. What can we do?
And we'd be like, too broad. That's too much. Do we need the dolphin shooting? That's so crazy. I mean, slaves are already so bad.
How about he just kicks dogs?
My aunt told me that another one came here from France, was like this known just Lothario, like who
now we're talking.
Loved the ladies and was an adulterer and took out bad loans all over the place. And then he eventually died after he was shot when he was found in bed with the wife of one of his creditors.
Hell yeah.
She said that he was killed by the guy he owed money to fucking his wife.
Wow. What
That's
a guy.
some Roy shit.
But those are in the late 1600s or early 1700s. People, I have a relative that came here from Belgium. There's some Belgian person in there. He actually fought in the War of 1812 on the side of the British, and he was a sergeant of music. That was his position in the military.
We'll fight them with music. They send out the marching band first.
He's just in the front of the line. If he's my relative, he's in the front of the line going, let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Tuba kicks in.
Yeah.
He was the first person to like pioneer psychological warfare through music. So all night long, he's blasting at deafening
Van
volumes.
Halen's, yeah.
It's like
Panama.
Teal classic music. This'll drive him out.
My mom's side is harder to track. It's a much more difficult story with my mom's side to track. Her ancestry.
They did some bad stuff, so yeah, they didn't really talk about it.
No, the
all that
hard
other
part,
stuff out in the open. Ben's mom's side, they really had to hide.
My mom's side is a lot harder to track because they are Acadian French. They were fleeing British persecution when the border for Maine was drawn. They fled. They were pushed out of the maritime region by the British. And a lot of them may have actually already lived in Maine for a long, long time. But they were Canadian citizens only in that's where the border was drawn. And then the border in the late in the 1840s for Maine was pushed up, and a lot of them just inadvertently became American citizens. So they may have been in. But my dad's side, I found, who came here, was actually my great-grandfather. I'm only third generation. My great-grandfather,
just like the pack peddler guy, we're just one.
Yeah, exactly. They were born. My dad's paternal side was Joseph Roy. He was born in St. Louis, province of Quebec, Canada. He arrived on the Grand Trunk Railroad. His listed occupation on his immigration sheet was shoemaker. That was his.
Get out of here. Get out of
here.
here.
What it says. It says shoemaker.
Wait, for our listeners who don't know this, Ben's character on Those Who Can't was named Billy Shoemaker. And we just came up with that because it sounded working class, like a profession.
Wow.
And so when I look at my great-grandfather, whose my middle name is Joseph, I'm named after him, his listed occupation is as a shoemaker. He was a jack of all trades. I found these amazing photos of him. He did taxidermy. He owned a photography studio, which was pretty rare back then. He did portrait photography. He was a musician. He played saxophone. So I found all these amazing photos, and he's always turned to one side because his face was badly disfigured on a paper press at a mill.
Oh.
And so he only showed one side. His wife, who came here, was Edwardine Bondy.
Sure.
She came here, and she was just a housewife because she had 15 fucking kids.
Whoa.
And so
get that stray cat fixed. God damn.
That's my dad's paternal side. On my dad's maternal side, his grandfather was the first to arrive. His was Jean-Baptiste Marcotte.
That's the guy who does music for Colbert, right?
Yeah. And Jean-Baptiste is a very common French name, obviously Jean the Baptist. He was born in Lavenu, Quebec, Canada in 1886. He arrived here at Island Pond, Vermont. And I found for both of them immigration sheets of them renouncing King George and that they had no allegiance to it. And that they weren't polygamists, like basically renouncing. We'll put it up. My family said it was all right. We'll put it up on Patreon so you can see it. He was a playwright and a director of theater, of French theater, and a very well-known producer of French plays. He actually started this thing called Le Cirque de Canadien, which was a drinking club.
Yes.
And in Lewiston, Maine, and they used to just party hard and have plays.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they were great. And his wife was Aurore Parent, and she was a noted feminist of the time. She wore her hair short. She was known to wear pants, which was uncommon for that time. She made more money than my grandfather. She worked in fashion.
No, that had to be a hard pill to swallow in fucking 1906.
And she was an actress. She was an actress and a concert pianist as well. And ended up teaching my grandmother, who I found all these amazing ads in papers for my grandmother holding these recitals. I basically come from a very long line of artists and musicians and alcoholics.
You totally do.
And so it's weird how I got here, you know? I'm still wondering where I got the side of me that loves jujitsu. That's the big one.
Probably the dolphin
I feel like
killer.
That's the sergeant.
The dolphin killer.
Are you related to famous hockey goalkeeper Bernie Perron?
I am not.
How about famous goalkeeper Patrick Waugh?
I am. He is a third cousin of
what?
mine.
Are you serious?
Ditto. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Canada. Just to give you an idea, 900,000 Canadians immigrated to the U.S. fleeing the economic crisis there or persecution from the British. If that gives you an idea, nowadays, if they had stayed, that would have meant 4 to 5 million more people in Canada's population, which is not small if you consider that there's only, 30 million Canadians. That would have been 15 to 20% of their population increased by the number that moved from Quebec province to here. It was a massive influx. And they brought arts and they brought culture. And the crazy part is Lewiston, Auburn, where they moved to, had areas called Little Canada. And when I was growing up, there was a
Lewiston.
and what's crazy is now there's a large influx of Somalians moving in there. There's 10,000 Somalians that have moved into the Androscoggin area, into the Lewiston, Auburn area. And there was a lot of anti-Somali sentiment because they spoke different languages, because their culture was different. They were worried that crime would increase. The same things the Irish faced when they came here, they put that upon the Franco-Americans when they came here, and now the French Canadians started putting that on the Somalians when they moved here, and that's the process.
That's the American, yeah,
continues.
exactly, and that's what's going on today. Is like all these people who are like, whatever, I was here 4 generations ago, so I count more. Are shutting the borders down, and me and Andrew, we're over here in Denver, saying, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
And it's guys like me and Andrew that need to take a cold, hard look in the mirror and welcome these vaping.
Dolphin shooting,
dead-eyed
shooting, e-scooter,
dog shit driving,
dead-eyed graphic designer.
What do you have against
Z's,
graphic design?
real estate gobbling up? Yeah,
warehouse frequenting.
No, but I think that does raise the point that there does seem to be a key common denominator in a lot of these stories, and that is opportunity. The opportunity at something better. Granted, some of Ben's relatives were like fleeing something bad, but for the most part, it was like, hey, I have an opportunity to live in a new place, to work in a new area, to maybe try to make more money and get myself out of this poverty.
All of our stories were the same. They were of people trying to make some sort of a better life. And every single one of ours in the past had parents leaving either children or children leaving siblings back wherever they came from until they could be here.
Which is unimaginably sad and hard.
Which is what people do nowadays all over the world. They have to leave their families behind. And they try to get a foothold in a new area, and then they want to bring their family up. And
we've never known that. I could not imagine things being so bad
that you'd leave your kids.
I would say, you know what, kiddo, I'm going to be gone for 3 years until I can come and get you. Like I can send for you.
You send for him and he'll be coming over by himself on a ship.
Yeah. I mean, and when you talk to members of the Ethiopian or Eritrean or Somalian community in Denver, you hear stories like that. I've had numerous conversations where they say, my wife and son, they're back in Ethiopia. Like I can't imagine making that sacrifice. It has to be bad. And the fact that this place is a beacon, or people feel like this is a place where they can get ahead and hopefully provide something better. I mean, we all have that in our past. I don't know. It was very eye-opening, and I'm shocked at both of yours. With yours, I would have never guessed any of that.
Well, I got to say, I'm a little more shocked by yours.
Well, the dolphin shooting it was a St. Lawrence thing. The waterway. It was
a thing. The dolphins are the problem in that waterway. They are breeding like rats. They pickpocket.
I'm co-signing it. I think it's cool.
My aunt has actually written a couple novels about this, about it. They're called their first one is called The Enclave, and it's about French Canadians coming here. And it's a fascinating story because it is one of the bigger migrations of peoples to the U.S. That is just not talked about, but shaped the Northeast, shaped Boston, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. I mean, it would not be what it is without the French Canadian population, the Franco-American culture that's there. And you hear more about the Irish, and other groups, but you don't hear about this almost 1 million people crossing the border in a very short amount of time. So, yeah. But what do you think? This challenge?
It's very interesting.
I think this is a dumb question.
One of the most interesting challenges I think we've done in terms of being interested in what you guys were talking about.
So you actually came around for this one and found it to be enjoyable and interesting, huh, Andrew?
I think I might remember this one.
Okay,
if this one
great.
is referenced down the road, I think I'll remember this one.
What do you think?
Good?
I mean, obviously, I hate asking this because it feels silly, but I mean, did this make us better people? I mean, for me, 100% yes. Knowing this, hopefully it makes you more empathetic.
It's a form of education. It's educating yourself on where you came from and your family members, and again, those reasons why they may have done that, which can give you a better empathy to people who could be in similar situations.
Yeah, and I think the empathy of it's key. I don't think any of us needed empathy in terms of hardcore immigration. I think we're all pretty hey,
for people coming to America, I am absolutely on board.
But what about what we started off with, to the Bradens and the Bradens on Brighton?
I can't say that this experience has softened that. It has only reminded me of the steely opportunism that America dangles in front of people's face to make them think they're making the right choices.
I think I have nothing but empathy for immigration from another country to the U.S. However, white 20-something immigration between United States cities, I have no empathy for.
Make it illegal. Close these borders.
Zero empathy for it. I'm not interested in your narrative. I don't think it's funny. The only shining light is that perhaps you will come to a show of mine in Denver if we're here. I will make money off of that. Other than that, I could give a fuck what your story is, Braden, and I want you to go back where you came from.
I feel sympathy for the Braden on Brighton because I understand, having been a Ben in Boulder, that I moved here and it was different. It was beautiful, and it was so much. It was a very positive place. The people were so laid back. I grew to love being here, and so I get it. I don't ever want to leave. This is where I live. This is my home now.
Well, Andrew and I are drawing up some bills.
You're really divorced with a kid here, so Senate. You can't leave. Welcome to my club, Ben.
Yeah,
you couldn't leave if you wanted to.
Coming from a racist, backwards thinking place with no opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I love Maine. I'm proud of the people I grew up around. I love the people there, but being here just suits my personality a lot more, and I get why people come here. But I also do believe that the city is changing for the worst in a lot of ways, with pricing people out that have been here for a long time. And
I'll say this because I'm being real harsh on the new transplants to Denver. So I genuinely, and I have jokes about this in my set, I can't fault people for liking Colorado. Everyone likes Colorado, and my parents moved here and loved Colorado and set up shop. And so you love Colorado, you came here and set up shop. I can't knock you for that. That's fucking great. I do think some of the people that come here think that the city started the day they got here, and they don't really give a shit about the past or what the effect of them coming here was, or the pricing out of neighborhoods and gentrification and all that shit. So I encourage you, if you're new to Denver, be interested in the history of it. And if you're new to Colorado, be interested in what was there before you. And I think Denver and Colorado is a chill, laid-back place that's always very welcoming. But we like it if you recognize that there were people that were here before you. And that goes all the way back to Native Americans who were here before fucking any of us. So just look backwards a little bit and know where you came from.
Try to be sensitive to it. Yeah,
and the place where you're living.
I guess that's my thing. Is both of you complaining about it? You realize you're on borrowed and stolen land. So you guys complaining.
Is there anything before this?
Well, what a fun time we've had today, and I think that's a good place to stop. And what a rootin' tootin' dolphin shooting good time we've had today, huh? Haven't we?
shit.
I mean,
I can't believe he hunted fucking dolphins. Who does that?
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
God. I don't eat meat. I boy, they would hate me. The parents would hate me.
Oh boy, if you could meet that ancestor through some sort of fun time machine comedy, it would not end well for you. Well,
I'm just glad you can be a sergeant of music now. You should call yourself a sergeant of music.
Oh, I'm sergeant of music for sure. For sure. It's in my lineage. An anti-British sergeant of music. Oh, no, I'm anti. They fought the Americans. Yeah, bummer. Anyway, let's do this. Why don't we take a quick break? Why don't we listen to some live stand-up comedy again? As I said, this is the last Saturday of every month at the world famous Bug Theater. We have a banger of a show coming up. This comic's so funny. Started here, moved to New York. If you get a chance, make sure you check him out. Everybody enjoy Malawi Mengist. And when we come back, we will have more show as well as we'll tease the next episode's challenge. So please stay tuned.
Cool, stupid. Yeah. I moved to New York about 6 months ago. I've been loving it. But my favorite part about moving to New York was actually my flight over to New York, right? I fly Southwest because I'm killing it. And it was the beginning of the flight where everyone's putting their carry-ons in the overhead compartment, right? So I put up my little duffel bag, and I see this dude 3 rows back. He pulls up a pair of roller skates. And that was it. That's all this dude brought to New York City. It was just a pair of roller skates. Like, I followed him all the way to baggage claim, and he just left. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was trying to put together his life story in my head, and this was like the only thing I could come up with, right? Like, I don't know if any of you guys have immigrant parents, but like when you have immigrant parents, they always tell you they always tell you the exact same story about how they first came to America. They're always like, when I first came to America, I only had $7 in my pocket, right? I was like, what if those roller skates were his $7? Like what if he was sitting in Nigeria somewhere with a bootleg copy of Roll Bounce, and he was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be Nick Cannon one day. Like, I don't know.
There are no cats in America, and the streets are filled with cheese. Thank you, everyone. What a lovely immigrant episode that was.
They call me the Nightingale, but wow. They're pulling you up from steerage to sing for the captain.
I will sing for my dinner, boys.
Can you give us another little...
There are no cats in America, and the streets are filled with cheese.
Hey, Sergeant of Music, if you need a lieutenant of the pipes...
I'd like for you to lead us to slaughter, Adam. I would love that if
March
you could.
me off the cliff first. I'm ready for war.
I just want to give a big shout out, a big thanks to my aunt, Suzanne Roy, playwright, author extraordinaire. If you get a chance, check out her book, The Enclave, and the sequels to that. If you get a chance, please check it out. You can get them on Amazon and whatnot.
Oh, we're doing aunt shout outs? Shit.
She gave me a lot of information for mine. She was an invaluable resource. She's awesome. And so thank you, Aunt Suze, you rule.
Andrew, you got an aunt shout out?
Oh, hell yeah. Shouting out my Aunt Annie for telling me all about my Grandma Julia. My Aunt Annie is named after my grandma's sister, Annie, of the infamous toilet flushing duo. Thank you for the info, Aunt Annie.
I'd like to shout out my aunt, Aunt Maney. She actually runs the family's Ancestry.com. She knows a lot of this shit. And Aunt Maney has a store in Richmond, Virginia, Bygones Vintage Clothing.
I've been there. It
Hit
rules.
Carytown.
Oh, that sounds nice. Oh, Carytown, a light has shone upon my heart.
Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. What do we got going on? Oh, can I give a shout out? I'd like to say that the Grolix live show is going to be going on February 26th at the world famous Bug Theater. And what a bing bing banger of a lineup.
Bing bang.
You're going to want to wear your night pants for this one.
Yeah, don't wear your coziers to this one. Wear your night pants because Georgia Comstock is going to tell jokes. From the hit Netflix show Working Moms, we have Ryan Belleville. He's an amazing character on that show. If you love the show, come down and see him. And then from All Fantasy Everything podcast, Sean Jordan is going to be there. So make sure you get your tickets now before they sell out.
He is dank. And I also want to plug my shows coming up March 4th and 5th at Helium in Indianapolis. So if you're in Indiana, come on out to Indy and see me at Helium March 4th and 5th. Tickets on my website, adamcatonholland.com.
We also have a Patreon, which is the number one way to support us. It's at patreon.com/GrawlixSaves. That link will also be in the show notes. Huge thanks to all the new folks who have joined. We've got 3 tiers that you can check out. You can get like a personalized greeting from Ben. Think of it like a discount cameo. And one of the perks of being a Patreon supporter at the top level is buckle up. Birthday shoutouts. Yeah,
baby.
Yep. It's like your Ruby Tuesdays. All the servers start clapping. Who's coming out? It's us. It's your birthday shoutouts. What should we do? What should we do for the birthdays this month?
I'm thinking we hear the name and their birth date and we say what their favorite band is.
I love it.
First choice, best choice.
Nice. That's a good one.
You like that?
I love it. Yeah.
I'm going to throw the first one to you, Ben.
Okay.
It's a February 4th birthday. Long-time loyal Patreon supporter at the top level, Ryan Turch.
Oh, my God. Ryan Turch,
baby.
everybody knows. Big Queensryche fan.
Oh, Queensryche, the official band of your friend's older brother in the 90s.
Yeah. Got into it kind of around the time that he really started playing Halo a lot, and it seemed like the perfect soundtrack.
City,
and then it's just stayed with it.
man.
And far beyond Silent Lucidity and the songs that really broke them as being popular. He's got the Queensryche stabby looking Q thing on his calf.
Tight.
He got it
tight. That's a
tattooed on
good
his
spot
calf.
for it.
Ben, I think that's cool. I think you're cool, and I think Ryan's cool.
It's going to age well on the calf.
I love it. I love it. How about I hit this next one? I know this person, Adam, so I'm going to tee this one up for you, okay? Because she's great, a friend of mine, and a loyal supporter. So I'm going to toss this one to you. You ready?
Yeah.
Rebecca Fiore, February 18th. Happy birthday. Favorite musician or band?
It's not a musician. It's a band, and it's the Fine Young Cannibals.
Oh,
She drives me crazy.
Fine Young Cannibals, still great. Still a great band. Fun to listen to.
Yeah. Listen, I could go into as much depth as you could about the previous band, for sure. I know multiple albums and multiple songs by the Fine Young Cannibals besides She Drives Me Crazy. However, we do not have the time.
No, and honestly, I will say Rebecca is just a fan of the hits, just the A-sides of Fine Young Cannibals.
I mean, they only have 3 good songs, but they're great songs.
And I respect that. It's an FYC fan, an FYC fan still.
I think it's indicative of a hesitancy of digging deep into her own self, but certainly into the band. So, Rebecca, this next year, maybe dig a little deeper personally and into FYC, but I hope it's a great year for you.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you want to take one of these? Want to try?
Oh, I couldn't possibly. You two are on a roll. Just keep steamrolling along.
Good choice. You'll just ruin it.
Yeah, no, just stay on the bench. We'll call you when the game starts.
I'll take this last one. I would love to.
I will tee you up, my friend. We know this dude. We love this dude. He's a supporter, a great artist, a great friend. February 22nd birthday, Elliot Lang.
Oh, love Elliot.
Oh, that's easy. Ugly Kid Joe. and one of the people that has always liked Ugly Kid Joe.
Sure, from the
and
jump.
He hates everything
Wow.
about you. Everything about I get sick when he loves that song.
Ugly Kid Joe, the other official band of your friend's older brother in the 90s.
Well, happy birthday, Elliot, and please enjoy these 2 complimentary tickets to the Ugly Kid Joe cruise, leaving out of Galveston March 5th. You're on it with the person of your choice, Elliot. Happy birthday.
What a fun birthday shout out. Happy birthday, Ryan, Rebecca, Elliot. Thanks for supporting us. this don't work without you.
And if you want a birthday shout out where we really get to know you and celebrate you, why don't you join us on Patreon at the top motherfucking level?
And we also have a podcast within a podcast only for Patreons called Boy Crazy, and you can expect a new one right around the corner.
If you don't already, please, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Grawlix Comedy. Reach out. Tell us about your family's immigration story, or tell us what you think about Denver transplants. If you are one, why did you come here? What were you fleeing from where you came from? We love to hear from you. Please reach out to us at Grawlix Comedy.
And I want to issue a sincere thanks to our producer, Rustic Sodbuster Ron Doyle. Thank you for all that you do. And thanks to Mike Henderson for your help recording at the live show. We appreciate all that you do, bud.
Our theme music, as always, is by the genealogical hodgepodge Charlie Intercontinental.
Oh, I see what you did there, bruh.
Yeah.
You're back. You're
Thank
back.
you. Thank you.
Hey, guys, I'm wondering.
Yeah, I'm
wondering what we do next time.
I got an idea.
You do?
I'm going to surprise you motherfuckers with a challenge.
Oh, God.
Great.
Last time we did that, we all got hit with a spatula.
Well, this time you're about to get hit with some killer ratings from whatever I'm about to spring on you guys. Do people do ratings for podcasts?
I don't think we're on them.
God, I hope not.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think so. We're about to be canceled, but I don't care because at least I get to say, "Play us out, Charlie!"